All right, now that we have all of our Christmas cookies baked and cold, we're gonna make the glaze and get them iced and decorated. You just need powdered sugar, water. If you wanna add a flavoring to the icing, you certainly can. We don't, but you do whatever you like. And then if you want to, be a little fancy, you can add some coloring to some of your icings, depending on what shapes you're doing. And then of course, some sprinkles. This is an approximate recipe for the icing. You may need to add a little more powdered sugar if you feel that it's a little thin, or a little more water if you think it's a little thick. But to start, we're gonna do 3 cups of powdered sugar and 1/3 of a cup of water. I'm gonna start with a scant 1/3 cup, and then I'll add more if I need to. You could definitely do this in a mixer, but you can also just do it by hand. Whatever you prefer. You want this icing to be thick enough that it's not gonna run off of the cookie and kind of just puddle on our pan, but not so thick that the cookie wants to break when you're trying to pull it up out of it, or that it's gonna take forever to dry. Not too thick, it'll actually be too sweet also. So you wanna kind of have a happy medium. When it comes together, I think that's just a little bit thin to me. I'm gonna add a little more powdered sugar. Probably even do 4 cups to 1/3 a cup of water. Honestly, I never measured, but I thought for you guys I would try and get a measurement. So doing this with a whisk, it feels really thick, but when I put my fingers through it, like it'll come down. I can feel some tension, but it's not so thick that I feel like my cookie's gonna break. For the dipping, you just need a pan with some parchment paper on it, and you just thunk the cookie in. Pick it up with the opposite hand, wipe it off, and then you want to kind of clip it at the end. You don't want to wipe it so much that you see the cookie, and that's just going to take some practice to get kind of the right amount that you wipe off. I can do typically, over a dozen before I have to sprinkle, if I'm not chit-chatting with you guys. But maybe you start 6 if you're kind of doing it a little bit slow. I'm not saying it's hard, I'm just saying it gets easier the more that you do it. And then you don't want the sprinkles to be in your icing or your icing in your sprinkles, so I always have a damp towel. I wipe my hand off and then add sprinkles. I find that the jimmies or the nonpareils like this, they don't bleed, so you can kind of do however many makes you happy. I'm gonna show you when we do the Christmas trees though, the nonpareils you wanna be really scant with. When you're using nonpareils, they tend to bleed a lot, and so you want to do less than you think you need. The annoying thing about these cookies is that you have to wait until tomorrow to eat them. I mean, you could eat them now to package them if you're going to do something with them. Otherwise, they will stick together. It takes about a day, probably 12 to 18 hours for the icing to dry. And so want to make sure that they're dry before you do anything. And that means that the colors and the sprinkles have time to bleed. So you just do a really light sprinkle. And once they're dry, I'll show you what they look like and you'll see what I mean. And here they are dry, and you can kind of see the way that the color spreads versus like the decorettes don't. So that's what we're talking about. So once they are finished and dried overnight, they can be stacked, they can be stored in Ziploc bags in the freezer, or of course eaten. They're good on your counter about 5 days. And I just can't wait to see what you guys make with this. Of course, I'm doing Christmas in July right now, but they are good for an everyday cookie. And just so there's no misunderstanding, some people tend to think that this is like a royal icing cookie, like the heavily decorated, gorgeous ones that people do. That's not what this is. This is just a classic Christmas cookie. It's meant to just be eaten and enjoyed. We sold them for $13 a dozen, and then I think at the end I was doing $15 a dozen, so it's not like the super expensive cookie, but it is one of the best things you'll ever eat.